I'd like to thank the Mayfield staff for hosting our meeting tonight. The Commission holds this meeting pursuant to the intergovernmental agreement entered into by the City of Chicago and each of the participants, as well as the Commission bylaws and the Illinois Open Meetings Act. I would like to ask Ms. Judy Dusk, a representative of the Chicago Department of Aviation, to please record the minutes of the meeting. Our first order of business is the roll call. Suburban members, Jerry Cogno, or Larry, representing Mayor David Brady.
Here.
Trustee Norma Pinion, representing Mayor Stephen Landick. Bridget.
Here.
Burbank, Alderman Robert Contreras, representing Mayor Daniel Foy.
Here.
Cicero, Jose Alvarez, representing Mayor Larry Dominic.
Here.
Forest View, Mark Manciola, representing Mayor Thomas Heitler.
Here.
Lyons, Tom Sheehan, representing Mayor Christopher Getty.
Here.
Trustee Mitch Milankovic, representing Mayor Jeff Watson Stickney.
Here.
Mayor Sergio Rodriguez, Summit. And Frank Delano, representing Cook County Board President Tony Preckinwell for unincorporated Cook County. The City of Chicago members, Ward 13, Kenneth Panarella.
Here.
Ward 14, Thomas Baliga, myself present. Ward 14, Christopher Kutzwara.
Here.
Ward 14, Stan Lahasa.
Here.
Ward 23, Felix Kaczynski.
Here.
And Commissioner of Aviation, Jamie Reed.
Here.
There are 12 to 15 members present pursuant to the intergovernmental agreement and the bylaws. There is a majority of members present, and therefore there is a quorum present for the transaction of the commission business. Our next order of business is the approval of the prior quarter's minutes of July 26, 2018, meeting of the full commission. The minutes were distributed to the commission members prior to this meeting. Are there any corrections? Okay, if not, the chair entertains a motion to approve the minutes.
Approve.
Felix Kaczynski makes the motion. Who wants the second?
Second.
Mayor Jose Alvarez, second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? The ayes have it. Minutes are accepted as approved, as distributed. Next order of business is the Chicago Department of Aviation report. Deputy Commissioner Aaron Frank.
Good evening, Chairman. Good evening, everyone. Thank you all for being here. Chairman, we have been busy since the last time we saw you. Tonight, we are sharing with you a letter from our consultants as well as 2 scientific reports. I'm going to take a few minutes to go through those with you. All 3 of those documents were either in a folder if you got one or at your place when you sat down tonight. All of these documents are uploaded to the CDA website. I will tell you that there are a number of homeowners living near Midway with confirmed odorous windows. We mailed these reports to them earlier in the week because we wanted to share them as early as possible with everyone. So let me go through them. The 3 documents in front of you, there is a letter on stationery from the consulting firm Wood Environment, which is formerly known as AMEC. I'll come back to that in a minute. Behind that is an indoor air quality report, also by Wood. And then the 3rd report is by Intratech. And we'll take a few minutes right now to go through each one of those. So the first letter by Wood, we asked our expert industrial hygienist to share some thoughts about the data they had collected and their confidence in that data. And they did so, and we wanted to share that letter with everyone. On the bottom of page 1, I think there are 5 key points that are worth reviewing with all of you, so I'll do that now. So Wood writes, conclusions as to risk to human health from RSIP windows are based on: number 1, air quality test results from whole windows conducted in an isolated environmental chamber. 2, results from air quality testing conducted in 13 homes that were evaluated both before and after window replacement. 3, headspace tests conducted to determine the potential for off-gassing from individual window components. 4, evaluation of the influence of temperature on off-gas concentrations. And 5, analysis for off-gases resulting from short-term exposure to ultraviolet radiation. So Chairman, if you will recall, We reviewed the first indoor air quality report at your January meeting earlier this year. When we last met in July, we reviewed an additional report by Wood that really was concentrating on some laboratory results of what we call headspace testing, where the scientists took the window components, ground them up into individual pieces, and then put them in jars in order to concentrate the odor. And the goal of that exercise was to help everybody identify which of the window components was actually creating the odor. Wood is very confident in the data for those reasons. They set forth, they find this data to be valid and representative of the conditions under which they were tested, and as a result of that, they can draw a conclusion that while the odors are present, they are below health guidelines, and as you may remember, throughout this exercise, those scientists have looked at state of California health guidelines as well as the state of Illinois guideline where one existed. And in all of those cases, the concentrations of these chemicals were below those thresholds. And so for several months, we have stated to all of you that the concentrations were below the health thresholds and therefore posed no risk to human health. Before I move on to the next two reports, are there any questions about that? I know that's quite a substantive letter, so if you do have questions, please just let me know and we'll come back to that.
The only I don't really have a question, I have a comment. As you said, it's quite a substantive letter, and between this and the other reports that just came out, I'd like to get these a little more on a more timely basis.
Sure.
So, for example, like this one, September 28th, we should probably get it to the commission members by the 1st of October.
Okay.
So that we can digest this. There's just too much information here
Sure.
to digest within the time allotted tonight.
Sure. And Chairman, as I mentioned, this report is already uploaded to our website.
Any commission members have any questions on the Wood letter, September 28th?
All right, I will go on. So the second report, I think is where we can spend a few minutes. This is, as I mentioned, another report about indoor air quality testing. When we released the January report, we were lucky to have 9 homeowners who volunteered for that program. And just a reminder, when the scientists are doing this testing, they set up the monitors in the home, test the conditions with the odorous windows in place. Then the construction team comes in and replaces those windows, and then the industrial hygiene team comes back, sets up the monitors again, and takes the results to check the home after the odorous windows are gone.
Is the homeowner present when that testing is going on?
Generally, no.
Okay.
For those homeowners that did participate, we were very mindful to reimburse them for overnight stay. We were trying to get 24 hours worth of data, and we wanted to minimize activity in the home, and so we made provisions for the homeowners to accommodate that. In this round, we were able to complete 4 additional homes. We did have a 5th homeowner, but that 5th homeowner started the process and did not finish it. But we do have complete data for 4 homes. I will tell you that I think, as many of you probably anticipate, all of the indoor air in each of our homes varies based on all of the consumer products that we have in the homes. So one of the things you'll find in this report is that there are different chemicals present in the homes than were present in the first round. And I think that's somewhat to be expected. But in the conclusion, all of those chemicals, again, were below the health guidelines and could not necessarily be attributed to things coming off the windows. We know after the January and the July report primarily which chemicals were of interest. And so they were able to take a look at that and have a much better idea this round of for which chemicals they were looking. But nevertheless, we did share those results with you. Now the report itself is approximately 14 pages with some references. So the better half of this document is data tables and graphs and appendices. And again, this is uploaded to our website, and we can answer additional questions if you'd like. Another key aspect of this report, we did it during warm weather. As you recall, the first round was done last October and November, similar to this time of year when the weather was cooler. We listened to the homeowners over the winter, and during those winter months, we actually encouraged homeowners to think about having our odor inspection in the spring when the temperatures were warmer. So we, as a result, wanted to make sure that we did some indoor air quality testing when those temperatures were elevated, because many of the homeowners had commented on that.
Do we know what the temperatures were during some of these test days?
I believe so. Let me skim this real quick. We do, Chairman. So towards the back of the report, I'm going to hold up a page of the report. You're going to see data tables that look like this. These are the temperatures, I believe, inside the home. But I will tell you that within the report, we were also monitoring the outdoor conditions. So I would have to take another look at this to find that data for you. So we'll do that before we leave tonight and point that out to you. All right, so again, this report was a continuation of earlier work, but for different homes. And again, it did confirm that we did not find chemicals above health thresholds. Chairman, are there any questions on this particular report at the moment? Okay.
Sorry, as we hold your questions, we have a question and answer period after the meeting. So if you could please hold your questions.
I guess I can wait, yeah.
Okay, and so with that, Chairman, we'll go on to the last report. So this is a report by a company called Intertech. They are the architectural testing expert that we hired. The title of the report is Window Mitigation Assessment. So as I mentioned in prior meetings, one of the goals was to identify the cause of the odor and determine if that was a health risk. And so that is why we hired AMEC, now called Wood. And Intertech was hired to identify a solution. The industrial hygienists by profession are not necessarily window experts, but a company such as Intertech that is an architectural testing expert, they are routinely testing the windows with performance in mind. So think of it as one of the laboratories where the windows would go for testing, and a company such as Intertech would verify that yes, the window is meeting those specifications. This is a shorter report, and so I will also hit the highlights for you in this report. This was also done in the summertime. Intertech reviewed the work by AMEC and used it to inform their methodology for going into homes. One of the things we talked about in a prior meeting was that we had done quite a bit of laboratory analysis, and the technical teams were very interested to get into the homes and have a little bit more real data from the home environment. And so that's what Intertech did in this report. When they were going into the home, they were trying different techniques to figure out what techniques or what methods could be used in the home to mitigate the odor while the windows were in place. So they looked at several things. One of those was removing the screen, and particularly that screen mesh. Intertech had identified in an earlier report that it was most likely the cause of the odors. As you may remember, the window screens, especially in the sound solutions windows, were made of a fiberglass mesh, and the mesh was spray coated with a PVC coating. And so for whatever reason, apparently that PVC coating is causing these odors. So as Intertech went into these homes, 8 homes, they were trying to do, again, trial and error, remove the screens. Does that in fact mitigate the odor? And in all 8 of the homes, it did mitigate the odor in the rooms within the home, and that was an important finding. The other 2 things that Intertech did, there are times where there are residual odors very, very up close to the window in the airspace. As you know, we've talked about sound insulation for many years. A lot of times we have a double pane window with an exterior storm window. Not all cases, but many windows are like that. And so when you have that airspace in between, an odor is created and that odor gets trapped, and eventually that odor does make it out into the living environment. So Intertech was very mindful to also examine the conditions in the room when a homeowner went into the room, but also up close at the window. There were some residual odors there. We've talked about in previous meetings also where vinyl does create an odor. There are many chemicals in our lives that create an odor. We've often used the analogy of new car smell. Some people like the smell of new cars and some people don't. So that's an example of an odor is present, but it may or may not be bothersome and it may or may not be harmful to your health. So it was important for Intertech to acknowledge that some of those odors may exist. So the last two techniques they used, they tried two methods of wiping. And specifically, they were taking a cloth saturated with chemical in order to see if the chemical presence would basically inactivate the odor. They tried two, which are described here. One of them was isopropyl alcohol, a very common chemical found in our homes.
What page are you on?
3. So this is the second bullet. Isopropyl alcohol was one of the chemicals they used, and another chemical that they tried was a solvent cleaner, essentially mineral spirits. You'll see at the back of the report, isopropyl alcohol was not effective, but mineral spirits was. And so we are pleased that that kind of commonplace chemical can help mitigate further odors. The last thing that Intertech looked at was the possibility of drilling holes into the window jamb itself. We knew that if the windows were in place and the odor wanting to go somewhere, was it practical to provide an avenue for that gas and for that odor? And so in at least one time, Intertech drilled a couple of vent holes to see if the performance was there. So I will turn your attention to the conclusion, which is on page 7. I think that's worth highlighting.
Pages 4 and 5.
Yes,
We've
Chairman.
got Harvey, Republic, and Sound Solutions. Is this all the vendors that are involved that have this problem?
No, this was a representative sample. Many of the windows are Sound Solutions, which has gone out of business. Republic has also gone out of business. Harvey has not. And we talked quite a bit in the last meeting about Harvey interacting with the homeowners and improving their customer service performance in order to provide that warranty service.
Let me rephrase that question. Is this all the vendors that we dealt with that have had this problem? These 3, or are there others? Are there other vendors?
There is another company from very, very early in the program, about 20 years ago. That company is long out of business. It represented a very small subset of windows installed over the last 22 years.
Okay.
Chairman, did you have any further questions on pages
No.
3 and 4? Okay. Before I get to page 7, there is another finding on page 6. So I mentioned the vent holes. One of our concerns was if we drilled vent holes in a window jamb, would we diminish the acoustical performance of a window? Remember that the whole point of the sound insulation program is to reduce the aircraft noise inside the home. According to the acoustical testing reports, those vent holes, there were 2 that were utilized, and they were so small that they did not have an effect on the acoustical performance, so that's a very positive result.
That was actually going to be my first question after you said that.
Yeah. So Chairman, on section 7, on page 7, that's the conclusion, and I'll draw the Commission's attention to that just so I can hit a couple of highlights and wrap up that. So a couple of key sentences. Intertech writes, removing the screens has reduced the odor significantly, with no odors identified in the room during the assessments. And then later on, a couple paragraphs from the bottom, they write, based on this, it appears that removing the existing screen materials and replacing them with a more stable screen material will address the odor concerns with the acoustic windows. To ensure odors are fully addressed, wiping the sash and frame components between the inner and storm windows with a solvent cleaner, that is mineral spirits, and providing vent holes at the top of the jamb framing should also be considered as part of the odor mitigation plan. Okay. So Chairman, those are the reports. I do want to tell you that we are not done. We have some additional work to do. Specifically, two things are still on our mind. Number one, we do intend to roll out a mitigation plan. This principally includes the science of what we wanted to accomplish, identify the cause, and identify a potential solution. In order to address the windows in the homes, we still have several logistics to work out. We need to check in with the FAA. We've got some questions pending with them, and we reviewed this data with them preliminarily, but we have additional conversations to have with them. So in addition to rolling out the mitigation plan, the last piece is how do we change our construction specs in order to prevent this from happening in future procurements? One of the statistics we've talked about is over the course of 23 years at both airports, we have sound insulated 21,000 homes. And knowing what we know today, that there is a possibility that some windows could create odors, we would like Intertech to continue its work and make recommendations to us specifically where in our construction specs for sound insulation does it make sense to make changes in order to reduce the opportunity for odors to be created in the first place. So we do anticipate getting those documents in the upcoming weeks, and that will help us with future sound insulation. So two things. One, sort of concluding where we are in existing homes with confirmed problems today, and that's the mitigation plan. We'll announce that in the upcoming weeks. And then again, addressing those construction specs to figure out how to prevent this from happening.
Time frame wise, do we have a ballpark idea of when the mitigation will
We
start?
do. We are still on track to share those with you later this fall. We have been quite focused on this work in the upcoming, these past few weeks. Commissioner Ree, and I'll do a formal introduction in just a minute. Commissioner Ree is next to you. She has made sure that we are focused and looking at some things that we had perhaps not looked at as intently before. And so our work continues, and I just want to assure all of you at the table tonight that we are not done, and we fully intend to solve this problem completely.
It was Intertech being on board to monitor future windows or future installations, the process. Right?
No, Chairman. So let me clarify. I apologize if I was not clear. So Intertech is going to look, they're going to make recommendations to the design.
Okay.
So in other words, because they are window experts, they're familiar with the fabrication of windows and the performance of those windows. So we've asked them to look at our specifications for the windows that we select and want to install, and look at the specification to see if there's a deficiency there, or maybe not a deficiency, but an opportunity for improvement, right? The spec that we have today inadvertently accommodated some kind of odor generation. Now, we still are actively pursuing the manufacturer of Sound Solutions. We are clearly not happy with the performance of these windows. We're clearly not happy that Sound Solutions is not honoring its warranty provisions. We understand that that company went out of business, but when we have hundreds of homeowners that need warranty service, we are not satisfied that we are not getting that service on behalf of the homeowners. So we still have additional legal work to do there. Despite that, we do have additional homes to sound insulate. We still get requests from homeowners who have not received sound insulation and do want to participate. But as I said, knowing what we know now, we want to review our specifications and make sure that those products that we procure and install in people's homes are not going to cause these similar problems again. So Intertech will recommend the design solutions. We will then hand that over to the architectural and engineering design firm that helps us get the construction documents ready, conducts field measurements in the homes, and then get that ready for bid. For example, we might have 50 construction specifications in the bid documents that we bid competitively through the Department of Procurement Services. The final window spec is one of those 50 window specs. We've asked Intertech to look at several, but with a particular focus on the vinyl window specification. So they'll continue for a little bit longer in order to inform the design phase for future procurements.
Okay, so they're going to be consulting. My question, I guess, I should have rephrased it, I asked it correctly. For any future contractor that is selected, Are we gonna subject a window or a couple of the windows to the test that we are currently doing for these windows?
Yes, Chairman. So when a manufacturer's product is added to the specification, we require that manufacturer to provide documentation that its product can in fact meet the performance specifications. When the city of Chicago procures materials, it is preferred to write a performance spec. We need this window to meet this kind of thermal performance, this kind of air and water infiltration performance, and this kind of acoustical performance. And so when a manufacturer contacts us and says, great, we can do this, we say, okay, thank you very much, now prove it. So we receive lab results up front, and we would want those lab results to be reflective of the revised specifications. In addition to receiving that up front as a basis for being in the spec in the first place, they then have to do field testing, or what we call an installed window test. There are tests that have to be done in the homes to verify that although it was designed a certain way, it's installed in the home, and the installation and the performance of the window in the home is in fact meeting the desired performance requirement. So yes, they will continue to be tested pre and post, and they will be required to meet whatever revised specification we develop.
So the lab tests that they're going to provide.
Yes, they are required to provide lab testing that is given to the designers to review and determine whether, in fact, the lab results are reflective of the testing.
The lab tests are going to be provided by the manufacturer.
Yes, they are
And it's
required
their
to.
testing.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
It's their testing, right?
Correct. The specification says this window must meet this standard, this standard, this standard, etc. And upon being added to our program, the manufacturer has to demonstrate up front that its product can in fact do that. And so we receive, their materials, including their lab tests. We ask our design architects to review that and verify that yes, based on all the available data, this does appear to meet the requirements.
So now, when the architects verify this, are they subjecting the windows to independent testing?
No.
Is the city planning on subjecting the window to independent testing to validate what the manufacturer is telling us?
Not at this time. As I mentioned, they are required to do testing up front, and they are required to do testing in the field in a small portion of the homes in order to verify that the performance that was stated is in fact met.
And the testing of the homes as they state, is that going to be like, say for example, one of the homeowners will get the new windows from the new manufacturer, and it's going to be subjected to a test by the city?
So let me clarify, Chairman. So
What
each
I'm
contractor that
what I'm
installs,
looking for is independent testing of what the manufacturer is telling us.
Chairman, we have not considered that yet, but certainly can.
I think we should.
Hello. You.
I think we should.
You.
I'm just looking for the point we were going for the same trap that we're in now. And have a manufacturer come up to us and says, oh yeah, we meet all your criteria, and here they are, your great windows, blah, 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 and all of a sudden they get put in, and then we come back to the same problem. What I'd like to see, and I think the commissioner, I hope would agree with me, is an independent test of that manufacturer's windows before they go into the house.
Here, here.
I mean, I don't like the
Okay.
city throwing good money after bad, is what I'm saying.
Understood,
It
Chairman.
doesn't make sense to put new windows in that the city has not validated with its own independent tester.
Well,
Yes.
Chairman, to clarify, that's why we hired the designer, but
Right.
understood. I hear the point you're making, and we will
Okay.
take that under advisement. Are there any other questions on the reports? Okay, Chairman, we do not believe that this is new news, so to speak. These are continuations of prior efforts. Again, the indoor air quality was consistent with the earlier rounds. And Intertech had written a preliminary report in July, and this is sort of confirmation of their findings.
Good.
All right?
I'm sure we're gonna have more questions at the next quarterly meeting,
Of course.
once we can digest all of this information.
And Chairman, all of you are, welcome to give us a call at the office, and we're happy to spend more time with each of you.
Okay. Any other questions from any of the commissioners on these reports or the windows issue?
Okay, so Chairman, I'll move on. So I did want to take a moment to introduce my new commissioner, Commissioner Jamie Reed, sitting on your right, Chairman. Commissioner was appointed by Mayor Emanuel and confirmed by City Council in late July, probably about the week either after your last meeting. And Commissioner Reed started on August 1st. So she's been with the department now almost 3 months and already making an impact in a positive way for all of us. So hopefully if you have any questions of me or her, please don't ever hesitate to ask.
Welcome, Commissioner.
Thank you very much for having me. Yeah, I just appreciate the, all the effort that's gone into this and want to assure you that we are very concerned and that we want to hear from you. And I've had the opportunity already to go out and meet several folks, and I've talked to them, have actually been in their homes, and want you to know that our next step will be to roll out a mitigation plan, and that is our focus. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Chairman, for our last item, we wanted to go ahead and walk you through the quarterly noise report. And to do that, I'll have Ryan Anderson and William Brown make that presentation. Our consultants come up to the microphone and tell you more about that because I forgot. So Doug or Jerry, can one of you come up and speak to the commission about that independent testing process? Either one of you is fine.
I'm going to put you on the hot seat this time.
Hi, everyone. I'm Doug Blanchard. I'm the program director for the Residential Sound Installation Program. So when a construction contract is awarded, the contractor has a requirement to do some testing. So I can explain how that works. When we get into a home after the construction contract is awarded, we measure windows so that we can fabricate custom windows for the home. The custom windows are then ordered from the window manufacturer. The window manufacturer makes them, then they deliver them to the construction contractor. Once the construction contractor gets those, we go into his warehouse and check that the windows are ready for installation in the homes. So once they start installing windows in the home, we go to their warehouse and we'll pick a window and we'll send that window to a laboratory. Well, actually, we don't, but the general contractor sends it for this independent testing. It's called an uninstalled window test. So they'll do that laboratory testing, and same information that the manufacturer does, we essentially confirm that those windows are meeting the specifications. And like Aaron said earlier, we also do what's called an installed window test. Once the contractor puts some windows into the home, we do that same kind of battery of testing in the home to make sure it complies with the test. So we do that early on when they start this work so that we can be assured that, in fact, these windows are compliant with the specifications.
And does that cover this PVC testing?
No, we don't have any testing for that. It's testing for water leakage, air infiltration, acoustical testing, structural performance. I'm missing one.
Thermal.
I'm sorry?
Thermal.
The thermal testing, yes. So no, we don't have any tests in the specifications right now to test for odors.
Okay.
But that's something that we're going to be looking at to
Yes,
see,
definitely.
to modify it for future.
So Chairman, I apologize. I had forgotten about this uninstalled window test that the PMC and the program manager, construction manager, they select a window and the contractor is obligated under the contract to do that verification. I had remembered the installed window test, but I had forgotten about the uninstalled window test.
That sounds more just like structural load, basically, and performance testing.
Yes.
Okay. See, what I'm referring to earlier is to subject the new contractor to the same tests that are currently being done to the windows to make sure they don't generate these odors.
Right, that's currently not in the specifications,
Right.
but after the analysis, that's something that's going to be looked at to see if it can be incorporated.
Okay.
Chairman, does that help to have that additional information? Thank you.
Thank you.
And Chairman, that completes our report.
Okay. Are there any questions from any of the commissioners to Deputy Commissioner Frank? Did I see your hand up? Okay. All right, so then we move on to the reports of standing committees for the executive committee. There is no report, and the motion is accepted, and the meeting is now adjourned. The next regular meeting of the full commission is scheduled for January 24th, 2019 at 6:30 p.m. here in the Mayfield. And at this time, we open up the meeting to audience question and answer session. And I just want to remind everybody that the commission encourages orderly public participation and has established the following guidelines for presenting comments and questions at our meeting. One, questions or comments will be limited to the items placed on the meeting agenda or those that are included as part of the commission's work plan, which focuses on aircraft noise management and Chicago Midway International Airport. Before making a comment or asking a question, we ask that you please identify yourself to the commission members by providing us with your name and address. And as I always recommend, for those people that are here the first time, this is the Noise Compatibility Commission. If you've got complaints about trash collection, trees, lights out, anything like that, see your alderman or your various city councils from the suburbs. At this point in time, the microphone is now available to the audience.
Robert Gagan, 5543 South Parkside. I have the Huffy windows, and I was sent a letter by Huffy that said it was the screens that were emitting the odor. And when they tested my house, the front windows, I had no screens on them. I just had the storms, and they emitted the odors, but no screens.
Oh,
So I'd like to say that it's kind of gobbledygook that they're posting that it's the screens, because mine failed and I didn't have screens on
what's the
it.
manufacturer again, sir?
Huffy.
Harvey.
Harvey.
I was saying.
Yeah. Harvey, I'm sorry.
Do we, Aaron, do we have somewhere we did not install screens?
No, I had the screens, I just didn't have them in. My screens, you take the storm window out, you put the screen in.
Okay,
All I had was the storm windows, I didn't have the screen in there.
gotcha.
And they said that the screen, they sent me a letter that said the screen was responsible for emitting the odors. I haven't put the screens in, because I had a dog that would jump through the screen. So I just had the storms on.
And you're still getting
So,
the odor.
yeah, and when they tested mine, there was no screen, and they failed.
Okay,
So it's not the screens at my house.
okay.
So I'd like the manufacturer to know that they're sending these letters, but if there's no screen, how could it be responsible for the odor?
Well taken point.
Yeah, Chairman, so the good news is that Harvey is still in business and Harvey is still obligated to honor its warranty provisions. So what we will do is take from that homeowner's name and address and give a follow-up call to him to make sure that any questions he
Sir,
has.
before you leave, sir, before you sit down, could you give your information to Aaron, your address, please?
Before you leave.
Yeah.
Leave it now.
Judith?
Chairman, so we will follow up with this particular gentleman and make sure that he is getting the service that he needs from Harvey.
Very good. Go ahead, sir.
My name's Ken Prusak, 6605 South Colon, and I've got the sound solution windows. And my question is regarding Mr. Franke's report, why the sample sizes were so small?
So, sir, we're relying on the help of our experts.
Because you got several homes, and you indicated one you had only 13 tests performed, and one was 4 tests. And you've got hundreds of homes, and how can you come to a conclusion with only a small sampling?
Correct. So, Chairman, this was the item that I had spoken with earlier this evening about the industrial hygiene firm assuring that although there weren't a lot of homes, that the data that we collected was in fact valid and helpful and helped to illustrate what is going on with the windows. So, sir, I do acknowledge that for indoor air quality, we did have 9 + 4 homes. So we will take that under advisement and go back and have another conversation with our experts.
So you're experts, so you'll be starting all over again.
Sir,
And you'll be wasting all that money, right? Starting over again?
no, sir, we have been working on this for over a year. We still have more work to do. And so, again, we will have another conversation about additional testing for indoor air quality.
Okay, who prepares the bids before they're sent out? The specifications?
So may I ask, do you mean the bids for the construction?
For new windows, yes.
So that we have an architectural firm that does that work. And then those specifications are reviewed by 2 other city departments. In addition to the Department of Aviation
Then you
review,
award the orders to the low bid.
yes, under the law, we are required to compete the bids and award it to the lowest responsive and responsible bidder. That is correct, sir. That
Okay,
is-
I
that is the law.
understand, because I've done business with the city, okay, besides them not paying on time. You know, there's other problems as far as when they put their specifications together.
Understood.
Okay?
And that's why,
And specifications can be put together or can be outlined to ensure that nobody else can bid.
Here.
Okay? That can be done, and I know the city has done it.
I'm not aware of that
I know.
for our office, sir, but I hear what you're saying. We work very hard to make sure that the bids are competitive, that there are multiple manufacturers listed for the acoustical products. It's very important to us to have competition in the marketplace, and we also want to make sure that we provide good products to the homes. And so with that in mind, we do make the commitment to review those specifications and make further improvements to them so that when they are bid out, we are putting out the best specifications that we can.
Right, because I'm not gonna be around when you correct it, because I'm too damn old. For the youngsters that are here, hopefully you get the specifications right.
Yes, sir. Thank
Okay,
you.
thanks for your time.
Anybody else?
Good point. Good for you, sir.
Good evening, my name is Sandra Pampazica, 6,000 South Major. I was one of the 300 that received an envelope yesterday. $2.41 times 300. What a waste of money plus printing. In that packet we received yesterday was the same information except for the letter from Mr. Frank. It was a waste of money. And then it went on to say, you'll be hearing from us by the middle of fall. Isn't this the middle of fall? Yes. Winter starts December 22nd. So what is Mr. Frank going to spend another $2.41 plus printing to 300 people? It's a waste of time, it's a waste of money. I met Ms. Reed in September when they were at the high school. She talked about the next 300 people. Also, she said it's going to be based on health. Is Ms. Reed now in the health insurance department? We have to submit, oh, well, this is what's wrong with me. Maybe my house will be taken care of faster. Or just like several of the houses, the first 2 houses, political. There has been a lot of people who are political in the 14th Ward, 23rd Ward, and the 13th Ward that were part of the 88 homes. I'm not stupid. I brought it up to Aaron Frame. I brought it up to my alderman. One thing I could say is, Mr. Frame, I hope you go away when we get a new mayor. Bye-bye.
That a girl. Tired of the rhetoric.
Good evening. My name is Roy Grosetsky. I'm a resident of Burbank, Illinois. My address is 8241 Mead Avenue in Burbank. And my complaint is I'm there 40 years. It's the first summer that I can't sleep in the morning. The planes, I believe, you must put a new runway in Midway. Well, some
Definitely is not a new runway, that's
well, the flights are coming over. They fly, as soon as they leave the runway, Southwest runway, they fly real low over Regis High School, come south between Malina and Meade, and Austin and Malina. They come fly over. You can't, in the morning at 5 o'clock they start. It's 1 a minute until 9, and then after that it's probably 1 every 4 minutes. And it's continued all summer, and it's in the morning, and then at night, if I go sit out in the summertime in the patio, you can't sit, you can't even talk next to the person next to you.
The planes, they take off from the runway and they fly real low. But why, when they take off from the runway, why don't they have to right away turn south or southeast right away? And come right over, why can't they just go straight over Bedford Park Industrial Park, all the way out to the cemetery where people are dead? And then turn south. You don't have to come to Burbank. All you have to do is reroute those planes, go straight west over the industrial park, to Manheim Road, and then start turning south. Right away, as soon as they leave the runway, they come right straight down, meet them up in the real low flights. And you can't talk on the telephone, you're on the phone, you can't talk.
And you want the
Aaron, I think
cracked
that's
windows,
in
right?
terms of flight pattern.
Chairman, I'm actually gonna have Ryan answer that.
Yeah, so again, just to make clear, there have been no new runways built at Midway, and there haven't been any changes to flight paths. However, we did see, some more winds out of the southwest, so we were taking off in your direction. We are predominantly taking off of one runway. The turns happen based on destination, so when there's a lot of aircraft that have to go to the east coast, they're gonna be turning kind of to the east,
Right,
kind
you
of
make
over
the
your
turn
home.
right away, right over my
Yeah,
home.
and so we were departing runway, 22 left quite a bit, over the summer. And so a lot of those aircraft that were going to the east coast were turning over your home.
Well, I couldn't put the sensors, one by Rivers, in the park there by Rivers, and one on 85th and Boston, a sensor, because that would, those noise levels would go up. Because
Yeah.
you can't even talk to the person next to you.
No, I totally believe that you were experiencing higher noise levels.
This is the first year, I've been here 40 years, the first year. That's been real bad, and I want to bring it to attention now before it gets worse. Before it gets worse, because I know it's gonna get worse, because I know Midway is gonna get bigger. As time goes on, because the expansion they're making.
Well, there aren't any expansion to runways,
No, but
going
there
on.
will be, there will be.
Well, I guess I can't predict 100% of the future, but Midway Airport is very landlocked, and I don't think there'll be any new runways built anytime soon.
Like I said, had the airlines leave go straight west, including Bedford Park, Industrial Park, and they're not working at that time in the morning. You get people up at 5 o'clock.
Right.
And then make the turn down by the cemetery, Manheim Road, and turn south and go east, wherever they have to go. Now, save the expense of putting windows in homes. Thank you.
Next person.
You don't want the cracked windows.
No, I don't want, I know.
Hi, I'm John Tabor, 5336 South Noble. Just trying to get some clarification of so many numbers that are thrown around. How many homes have tested bad with the gas odor, or, because you've only tested about 5 or 6, it seems like, or?
668 at Healthcare Works.
Okay, and you tested how many homes actually?
For indoor air quality, we tested 9 in the first round and 4 in the second round. And then for the other effort where we were looking at.
Okay, so you've done 9 out of 664. That's about 1.5%. Are you saying now that you're done with the testing?
No, sir.
Okay, are they saying that the homes are safe now with 1.5% testing?
The experts have determined that the concentrations that are coming off of the windows are below all the health guidelines, which means it's not a risk.
Okay, I questioned the numbers, 1.5%. Would the FDA approve a drug with such a small sample? I don't think so. You're telling people their lives are based on 1.5% because you test the whole 9 homes. Testing just very poor. The other thing, you couldn't find the temperatures on a report that your office issues. If you look on the report, it's right in the middle of the page, the big yellow numbers, that's the temperature, unless I'm wrong.
Sir, can you help me with what page are you on?
This big report from Wood, you were saying it showed testing. And I believe Mr. Baliga asked what were the temperatures.
Yes, sir.
And you said,
the page you're looking
I
at?
don't know. Appendix A,
Yes, sir.
okay? When you look at this,
So you're
home
looking at the
one,
first page within Appendix A?
yeah, the appendix one, home one,
Correct.
before replacement. The second item on the left says temperature degree.
Yes, sir. I
Is
believe
that
that's
not-
the
is that
indoor,
not
I
the
believe that's the
temperature?
indoor air temperature. So I wanted to take an opportunity to go back to the test to see if there was an outdoor temperature recorded in the report.
Okay, then now, but again, just to my question though,
1.5%, and you're willing to say people's lives are okay? Would the FDA use such a low percentage? Does
Sir, I
anybody
think-
think when everybody taking a drug was only 1.5% tested? You want more proof. You look at a commercial for drugs, the commercial is twice as long for the side effects. You're doing 1.5%, you're doing a total disservice to every person in this room when you only do 1.5% testing. That's a slap in the face, that's an insult. You should all be ashamed.
Right here.
And you're the experts. Your home doesn't have these windows, does it?
No, sir, I don't.
Yeah, yes, you can sleep at night, but you're telling these people whose house are affected, hey, it's been tested 1.5%, we're golden. I say, hell no.
Here, here.
Anybody else? Go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. Amber Venice on behalf of Midway Defective Window Recipients for the nonprofit for the community.
Nick.
I just want to point out in your own reports and conclusions, recommendations, page 13, first line, paragraph 4,
Which report?
the Wood report. It says formaldehyde was detected in all homes and was reported above the 30 parts per billion, the Illinois Department of Public Health guideline in green homes prior to window replacement. It seems like it's a 75% of rate of a formaldehyde off-gassing into a home. All of the formaldehyde that's listed in all the reports were above. They had concentrations that went lower, but it's still saying that you have concentrations above 30 parts per billion. But you continue to glass over that fact. There's additional evidence in here, which I can't understand why you would pay for a published, unassigned report from your own expert. It seems to me that they can't even sign their own names to it because it's such inaccurate information. Based upon this, I feel that the Chicago Department of Aviation should strike all the Wood reports as a point of reference due to all their inconsistencies, in so much that it's being a benchmark for the CDA for testing. I had a FOIA request and doing a survey around every airport that has 3,000 people that go through their gates per day. The state of New York has an acrylic third pane for their acoustical windows, which would not have an off-gassing effect. In the state of Texas, they have a UV recoated flecting on that third pane of glass to prohibit all of this that should have been going on. I think it's very poor of all of you in Chicago to not even look at other airports. Additionally, when you're publishing a report, all the appendices are not present. You have testing that was in canisters that went to SGS Glasson Laboratories in Syracuse, New York, and SGS Glasson by ALES Environmental in Simi Valley, California. And none of those reports signed off by those companies are present in this report. I find that it's continued to have additional inaccuracies. We are continuing to being harmed. This drill some holes in your windows and take out your screens and take some mineral spirits and clean them is not the Band-Aid that we're looking for. We either do it right or don't do it at all. Give us our old windows back or put new ones in that are going to be safe for everybody. Your research is inaccurate.
Chairman, may I just take a moment and comment further on formaldehyde? So I did want to read some additional sentences on that same page. I did want to read some additional sentences from that same page in the report on page 13. So it does say, as discussed previously, reductions in formaldehyde concentrations observed before and after window replacement testing were widely variable. Formaldehyde concentration was reduced between 1 and 18 parts per billion by volume following window replacement, below the 30 parts per billion by volume Illinois Department of Public Health guideline. Results indicate significant sources of formaldehyde other than the windows were present within all the homes tested. Nonetheless, odors identified by the odor screening panel conducted, along with the presence of formaldehyde and acetaldehyde identified during analysis of the headspace for the window screen, provides additional justification to replace the window screen material.
Next person, next question.
Okay. Hands at Arch, Midway affected window recipients. Jamie, I'm kind of curious, why is the gentleman from Wood sitting back there and not available to us up here? I mean, I was told we were gonna be here. I'm sure the city paid a lot of money to have this man sitting here. And he's ineffectual, people don't even know he's here. I posted that this guy would be available to us to answer questions. Why isn't he up here?
Again, Pam, if you
Yeah.
have questions, we can.
Well, but nobody even said, by the way, we got a
Don't
gentleman
even
here
mention
from
it.
Wood. I mean, that's really upsetting. Secondly, I want to state, this report clearly indicated what your mitigation plan is going to be, which is going to replace screens and put more holes in our windows. And I am telling you, and I'm pretty sure that's what's going to happen. I mean, and if I'm wrong, oh my God, I'll be so very happy to see that. And I hope that that continues for all 668 people, because 66 of those already got their windows completely replaced. It would be absolutely horrible and unfair to subject all the other homeowners that have these crappy windows to just getting holes put in their windows. I mean, it almost seems like a waste if you intend to replace them, they have them tell you to put holes in the frames and replace the screen material.
Unacceptable.
That's crazy.
Just as an FYI.
Also-
Pamela, any
Yes, sir.
questions? I won't cut you off on time. From the commission, we've expressed to Aaron Crane that the drilling holes in the window is not a viable solution.
When did you do this?
I talked to him earlier before
Oh, yeah, we didn't.
Okay, when did you get the report?
today.
What time? I'm just curious how long you had. I don't think any of these gentlemen had time to review this report
I
before
got the
this
report
meeting.
about 4 o'clock this afternoon.
Yeah.
And let me ask you,
And as I mentioned, at the beginning of this meeting, we want this information to us in a more timely manner so that we can digest it.
right, which is problematic, you know, I mean, you guys should have been able to, because maybe one of these other guys would have had a question for Aaron Frank. I mean, how can you ask these, educated questions about something you haven't even had time to read?
We're agreeing with
It's
you.
awful.
I'm agreeing with you.
It's awful. And I want to know, how often do they recommend that you wipe your windows with mineral spirits?
That, Chairman, that is not addressed in the report.
Have you ever
As I
smelled
mentioned-
with mineral spirits, Aaron?
That's a pain
Do you know what it smells like?
Yes.
Kerosene, right? So we're supposed to replace the smell of burning plastic with the smell of kerosene. Are you kidding me?
I just want to clarify, the Intertech report recommends that as a potential mitigation plan. We have not released the mitigation plan. Tonight, we are releasing what the scientists have determined appears to work in most cases.
It's
What was
not-
it? Okay,
It's
what-
not the definitive plan.
Well, I know that, but come on. Why don't they just tell us to take dog crap and wrap it around our windows so it doesn't smell like dog crap instead? All right, what was the sunlight value during the indoor air quality testing? There's no mention of that at all, and only one home was over 80 degrees. This testing should have been done at much higher temperatures. You guys wasted the testing on 9 homes in November and October of 2017. And then you come back in warmer temperatures and you test homes, none of which at the time of the test was done above 80 degrees. And then you take these values, which shuts off when the sun isn't on them, and you spread them over 24 hours. I think this gentleman, Chris, what's his last name from Wood? Chris? What's his last name?
Chris's last name is Everett.
Thank you. Chris Everett's had a discussion with Barbara Gapka. And I'd like a few minutes of Barbara's time because she's out of town. But she's been in every single one of these meetings, and she has some of the worst windows I've seen. And she got to talk to Chris after the joint council meeting at Kennedy High School. And he suggested that this test be done over a 4-hour period of time or during the sunlight times, rather than take that value and then spread it over 24 hours, which reduces what we're actually breathing in during those sunlight hours. I mean, there's a lot of, and then I just don't agree with this testing, and I'll be honest with you, Jamie, I'm concerned Because you guys all do recognize that there is an ordinance that's been in place by the city council that requires you to test 10% of homes. And I'm sorry, this report makes it look like you guys are trying to back away from that. Okay, can you speak to that, Jamie?
And so far, these were the folks that have come forward to offer the testing. That's not to say that we're not gonna keep trying to do our commitment, which is to try to do the 10%. I am very well aware of the obligation of the ordinance, and we are in discussions on how to proceed. We absolutely are.
Aaron Frame, several people have been given names of people, and there's some people in this audience who have offered to have their homes tested for the indoor air quality. But of course, we want to make sure that the testing that they're performing is not done in December or January, or when it's cloudy out and 60 degrees. I understand how difficult it is to get the right, proper circumstances to do a good test, but, and, what is my other question? Yeah, I guess that's about it, except that, you know, I think everybody here will agree, we're not willing to accept a Band-Aid, by no stretch of the imagination. And I'm sorry for you gentlemen that you didn't get the courtesy and the opportunity to review this report and be able to have some questions, because Burbank, you have a gentleman here complaining about the sound, he might get these windows. And who maybe you'll have a bunch of constituents with this problem in 20 years, you might not still be in office, but you know what? And by then, who knows, everybody will forget about what happened, and that's just awful. It's just awful. We are the victims of poor design, poor planning, poor purchasing practices, and you know, they keep saying the majority of the windows is with Sound Solutions. Aaron, I've asked this before. What portions of these windows, what's the number that was given to Sound Solutions and Republic Windows? Because we all know they're one and the same owner.
So I do have a statistic. So 29% of the homes throughout all the sound installation did in fact receive Sound Solutions windows.
And then how many got Republic? Because they're the same, one and the same.
I apologize, I don't have that number with me this
But
evening.
Republic predated Sound Solutions for quite a number of years, because they went out of business in 2008. We started the program in
95.
And they were the first company that were making windows in 1995. Am I correct? I mean, there's a picture of him walking the airport with Mayor Daley. This guy's still using that picture on his website to talk soundproof windows up in Elmwood Park. You know, so and what's the percentage that are Harvey windows?
I don't have that number with me.
That would be good to know, because that's why Harvey is so small. That's why it's such a small portion. And they're doing a horrible job of working with homeowners. There's some of them here who I hope do come up and talk to you. But I won't take any more time except to ask us to wipe our windows with mineral spirits. Replacing one horrible smell for another is about the most ridiculous thing ever. Thank you.
Good job, lady. Good job.
Chairman, if I may, I just two comments. Again, I want to make sure that everyone's understanding what the Intertech report does say. So Intertech's report does conclude that removing the screens does remove the odor from the rooms that were tested. They are still looking at whether wiping the vinyl as a secondary measure and or drilling vent holes as a secondary measure may in fact be needed. The other thing I wanted to say is we are very, very keen to address homeowners' concerns. If homeowners are still having problems, we absolutely want them to call the program office so that we can record that, visit the home if needed, and document what's going on in the home. Regardless of whether it's odor, whether it's mechanical, whether it's a leaky window, we understand that these windows are still under warranty and warranty service is not being provided. That is not acceptable to the city of Chicago. We very much need the homeowners and want the homeowners to call our office so that we are aware of those issues. And in doing so, that helps inform us as to the scale of the problem, but it also helps us plan for that next step when we are able to take action and address these concerns in those homeowners' homes.
You're very good at saying
That's
that.
exactly what the commission wants to.
Yeah.
When is that gonna start though? People haven't called. They've been out
Only
their
2
homes
years.
with jacked up windows and nothing's happened. Nothing's happened.
All you do is continue to re-victimize us over and over again.
Then
With
people gotta
every
take off
report
work.
that's published, every report.
Excuse
Yes, ma'am. Hold on. Ma'am.
Oh,
I
Hey, good learn to talk.
Nobody, I was there, nobody.
Can you, wait till this lady finishes, please? Ma'am, can you wait till this lady finishes? She has the floor. You can have it after. Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Leticia Rubalcaba, 5342 West 54th Street. I have called, I have emailed, and I have gotten nowhere. On May 16th, the CPA and RSIP, they came and did an inspection at my house. Odor was found in my windows. Then Harvey was in town May 30th and May 31st. They came to my house, they did a sniff test, no odor was found. Of course not, they're not gonna say that their windows are crappy. They said no odor in my house. So then they did a second inspection. Aaron O'Donnell, yes, RSIP came back to my house and did a second inspection August 14th. Again, odor was confirmed. I did not have screens on most of my windows, and even those that did not have screen, the odor was there. So it's not the screen.
I was there for that.
She was there, she smelled it, and all the times that they did the inspection, I smell it every day. I have a 1-year-old, I have a 3-year-old in the house, and they get to smell that crap. I get headaches from smelling it. Yet I know you guys are not going to understand because you don't live in my house. You don't smell it. You don't wake up every morning smelling that junk and getting headaches and whatnot, but whatever. My warranty is expiring April of 2019, and I'm still waiting. Aaron O'Donnell said he was going to work with Harvey to address my issue. Aaron? Frank. Oh, sorry. I was O'Donnell.
Okay.
Anyways, they were going to work on my issue. I haven't gotten no communication, no response, no nothing. So I have 2 reports from RSIP where odor has been found. Harvey, of course, says there's nothing. So now what? How much longer do I have to wait? The clock is ticking. I'm going to lose my warranty pretty soon. And how much longer do I have to wait?
Eric, what you do to cut through the red?
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you for your comments. I want to go ahead and make sure that I write down your name and address correctly.
Oh my God.
I'm tired of hearing that
You
shit.
have all your information here.
I have the reports. I have every one of the
Chairman.
reports. I will give it
No,
to
I'm not
you.
chairman, we're tired of hearing that bullshit from you, Aaron.
I'll give it to you. The last 2 meetings.
Yes, I
I've been out
understand.
here,
I
and
wanted
nothing
to-
happens.
I wanted to ask you,
Yes.
did Harvey contact you at all?
No.
Yes, well, they did. They
Well,
said
they
it didn't
emailed
smell.
I'm sorry,
back.
so they
emailed
did
me back.
contact-
Yes, they emailed me back, and they're like, no. It's the screen.
Well, they're saying you can't possibly have the smell because hers windows are the sliders. So the screens are on the outside of her house.
Chairman, may I
They just gave me
talk
crap of an
about-
answer. I have the email, it's on my phone, I have it. I can
Yes.
forward it to all of you if you want.
Yes, ma'am. Can I ask, how did Harvey leave it with you? What was the last thing that Harvey,
Nothing, they didn't give me nothing in writing, they just came and they smell, no, there's nothing here, you know,
Okay.
and they
So-
left,
so-
they left.
so I apologize that that happened to you. That is not acceptable. We will go back to the office tomorrow, follow up with Harvey, and find out what is going on with your particular
Is he
home.
on the chain? You're
on the chain.
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
You've
ma'am.
seen all the responses back and forth, back and forth.
Yes.
I believe it was you who said we're gonna do a second inspection.
Yeah.
And they did it, and it's, odor is there, I smell it, it's there, she
Yes, ma'am.
smelled it, we all smelled it.
Chairman, as I said, Harvey is obligated to take care of those issues.
They're
Clearly,
coming.
this is not acceptable
Getting
to us.
invaded.
We will go back and follow up with Harvey again to make sure that this homeowner is getting the service that she needs.
All right.
Thank you for your
That's
comments.
just gonna add me.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm coming back again, Ken Crusade, 6605 South Colton. Don't you think it's time that you guys made a decision, one way or the other, so that all of the people here know what action they can do? Whether it's a legal action or whatever it is, but I think it's time that you made a decision. And the only decision from here in the comments is that you have to replace all those windows. And I know it's gonna cost the city money, but the city got themselves into this problem. And it needs to be addressed finally.
We agree, Chairman.
Right.
Okay, so why don't you put a timeline? When can you make a decision?
Hello.
Can you make it in 2 weeks? Can you make it in a month?
2 years already.
Yeah, we've been coming here since July of 2017.
How about 30 days from now? Make a decision.
What decision are you specifically looking for?
Pardon?
What decision are you specifically looking for?
When you're gonna replace the windows.
Okay.
Because you know the screens aren't gonna do it.
Right, so
It's not
that's-
gonna make people happy.
That's the question, Aaron, you addressed it.
I will take that back and we'll discuss that. I'm not addressing to that question
That's
tonight.
exactly what I
Yes,
mean.
Chairman, absolutely.
Can you
We
have
have had,
Mr. Chairman, we've been doing that for 2 years. Hang the hammer.
I
Come on.
understand that.
Get it done.
It's not a simple issue, it's a complicated issue.
For 2 years, it's beyond complicated.
Why is it so complicated?
Right.
Let me ask you that question. Why?
Because there's a lot involved.
What's involved?
It's the testing.
There's 18 people sitting at the table, the dais here, right?
Right.
And when you read your report, there was probably 2 people that knew what the hell you were talking about.
Yes.
That's all. Everybody else, I could see it on their face. They didn't know what you were saying.
And again, I asked at the beginning of the meeting that we get these reports in a more timely manner,
Yeah.
okay?
And you read them like I read them, and there's some things that, yes, I understand, but there's
Right.
a lot of them that I don't.
So next time we'll have these reports ahead of time.
But there again, you're extending it.
Another
Next
next
time.
time.
I don't have control over when we get the reports, I'm telling you that right
No,
now.
I know that, the reports, but when can you make a decision on the windows, replacing the windows?
sir, I don't know.
Ah.
I don't want to give you dates.
So we're gonna continue going through this every 4 months for how many more years?
No, sir, that's not our goal. One of the things that I
I
said
don't care
earlier.
what your goal is, it's not working.
That's
You gotta
right.
change them.
So,
Okay, you gotta change your goal, because it's not working.
yeah, so we heard you loud and clear, and we are working on it, I promise.
Excuse me. Mr. Frame said, we're gonna find out middle of fall.
That's right.
In the letter I received yesterday, 1 of 300, he's gonna let us know by the middle of fall.
Next question?
Here at VLAG 6338 South Leclerc. I thought, well, I didn't have my screens in either and I've got Sound Solution and they smelled it. And then the other thing is, I thought we were gonna be told, the plan today. That's what, for, the last meeting at Kennedy is what I was told. And, I was contacted after that meeting about the indoor quality testing, because I'm one of those people that have consistently said, come on, do it. And I was contacted after, and I was asked, did you want to do that? I said, yeah. And I said, okay, well, we'll get back to you. And that's it. So, I don't know
Can I
how
ask you,
aggressive
sir?
we,
Can I ask you a question?
yeah.
Who did you speak to at Department of Aviation when you called?
Oh, I was at the Kennedy meeting, and it was one of my questions, the cards you filled out.
Okay.
And then I was contacted by RSIP, I guess, and to confirm. And so I told them yes, and then they said, well, we're not calling the schedule, we'll just call you back. We just wanted to make sure that you were the guy on the card that got us, is what they were looking for. So, you know, that's it. And then I also spoke to Doug a while back, and I had a guy come out for the mechanical issues. And they found mechanical issues on most all the windows. And they're telling me that, well, they can't do anything with those either. I can't get scheduled for that either. Smell aside, if I'm under warranty, I want my warranty work done, and nobody's, yeah, I mean, this is going on too long. So can you address any of that?
Yes, sir. So this fall, or in the last couple of months, we have been taking a particular look at the homes that do have mechanical issues beyond whether in fact they have odor issues. The commissioner has given us the directive that we need to find a pathway to getting all of the homes addressed. And that is the assignment that we're working on. We want to make sure that we can do that. We know that the homeowners that have mechanical issues only are just as important as those with odor issues.
Why have both?
Well, so in both cases, we want to solve all of those problems for you. So again, that's part of the plan that we want to finalize and roll that out in the near future so that we know how we can procure those new materials and make sure we can get all of that installed in everyone's home.
You
So
have to
yes,
find,
we
so
are
what you're
working
saying
on
is
it.
you have, in order to do anything with my windows, you have to find a window that isn't emitting odorous gases or something like that in order to come in and start removing or repairing, because I don't think,
Yes, sir. We
I don't
want
think
to.
they can fix them, I think they have to be replaced.
Understood, sir. We want to figure out, can the windows be modified in place, or is a new window necessary?
And you guys need my address again?
No, you got that?
Because I haven't
You
gotten
indicated to our
anything.
office that you wanted to be on the list for indoor air quality if we do a
Yeah.
future round, so we do have your name and number, so thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
It
Any
kind of
other-
bothers me that it took them till recently, till Jamie's direction, and Aaron, you know, I mean, I know everybody is talking in your direction, because you're the one doing the most talking. But let's put it this way, you guys have had a direction from the city council as of December 17, 2017, that the warranties are extended. And this is almost a year now, and you still have nobody in place, and it took the direction of Jamie Reed to tell you to do that? I mean, I know you're not alone, the guy making all the damn decisions, but come on. You know, there's windows falling out on people. Jamie has been to a home where the windows drop like a damn guillotine. They'll kill somebody, right? You've been to Bob Cooch's house, and you've seen how bad they are. The Zanazaro's house, where the windows fall out, and these people are on oxygen, and they're supposed to put this window back themselves, and people who can't open their windows or close their windows properly. I mean, Jamie, when are you gonna get somebody in place to start doing this work?
Tonight was to go through the reports, Pam, and I am working on a plan. I am.
Yeah, I'll be aware of it. It's disappointing. I'm very disappointed, and I know the rest of these homeowners are. And you know what, I feel sorry for the rest of these gentlemen sitting here hearing all this, because they're not here for this. They're here for the sound mitigation. We took over this meeting July of last year because this was the only forum we could get to get the press to and hear about our concerns and how upset we were and wanting to know. That's what forced the CDA's hand to start doing testing in the first place. And this is what we've been relegated to. This is not the proper forum for this. You know, these gentlemen aren't gonna see to it that anything gets done for us. Half of them don't care. More than half of them don't care.
It's not a question.
Oh, Tom, maybe you care, but I'm telling you, these guys don't have the windows. Summit doesn't have the windows. Forest View doesn't have the windows. Lions doesn't have the windows. Burbank doesn't have the windows. Cicero doesn't have the windows. Come on.
We aren't eligible for the program.
Well, why are you on this board then?
Right.
I don't understand that.
Because those communities are still impacted by noise.
Right.
Right, but they don't have the windows. It's the
Would you like to return to the meeting format?
Excuse me, you don't run the meeting, Aaron, he does.
Understood, sir.
So don't be messing with what he does, he's the best of the meeting, not you. You don't tell him what to do.
Yes, ma'am.
Tony Carlo.
I'm sorry?
My name is Tony Carlo.
Okay,
My address is 5305 South Leisure.
okay.
And I'm also going to speak on behalf of my father, Joseph Candela, at 6154 West 64th Place.
Okay.
So I apologize if this was already addressed, because I came in late.
It's all right, you can ask the question anyway.
I wanted to know if there was like some sort of portable air filtration device that could be given out to people to kind of give a temporary solution to these odors in people's homes, if such a thing exists.
That's a question I sure can't answer.
Maybe the guy from Wood can answer.
Well, maybe.
Chairman,
I'm sure it costs a lot of
I am
money.
also not certain, so I'll take that back to my department and make inquiries.
Okay,
How far
Okay.
back?
And then I have one more question.
go ahead.
And that is, when it comes time to sell your home, how are you supposed to address these windows with potential
home buyers.
We have to take a $10,000.
That's something I can't answer either.
No, you have to,
$1,000.
you have to discuss.
Your house is depreciated $10,000.
Right. But
That was
that's,
it.
that's
I
not a
mean,
question anybody here is qualified to answer.
That's not true.
Come on.
That's not true.
$10,000.
James can answer that, he's an attorney.
Who?
More
Attorneys.
names. Or maybe the gentleman that can sit
Or
next to,
attorney can answer.
Jamie Reed. They understand,
It's really kind of a very important
Well, like,
question.
yeah, as you mentioned, Pam, this is not the venue to be asking those questions, and you've been forced into this, so. I mean, you're forcing us to try to answer something that we can't.
she's not asking you, Tom. She's asking the other people there that are here to
I'm
answer
asking
the
everyone because my father passed away.
Understood, but this is a noise
This home has to
compatibility
be
commission,
sold.
it's not
His home has to
addressing
be
chemical
sold,
odors.
so I wanna know, how we proceed.
Ma'am,
that
I
we
would
can't
just,
do.
Chairman, if I might, ma'am, I'm so sorry, we do not have that information for you tonight. Please be assured, we do want to solve this problem, including in your father's home, and we make the commitment to continue to work on this until this issue is addressed to everyone's satisfaction.
Yeah, even if there was some sort of documentation to say that these windows are present in his home, and that the next person, whoever purchases the home, will be able to benefit from whatever solution this group comes up with.
Understood, thank you.
Thanks.
Anybody else? Okay, no more questions?
Anybody else? No, please come up. And this gentleman asked me to join him at the podium, okay? Give your name.
Hi, this is Garcia. I'm Gerald Garcia, 5321 South River. I
What
have
address, please?
and 54, 52 South River,
Okay.
and 51 to South Heating. I have the same problem. I spoke with Harvey, and they were very good with me when I spoke with them. They told me, send me everything by email, and I tried to explain them what's going on. But they said, no, you know what, don't worry about it. I'll call me later, I'm very busy. Like that, and no, I want to talk about it right now. And they hit me up. And I said, what's going on, man? I tried again in the same thing. And one of my houses, I have no more warranty. They changed only one window. That's it. Yes. And I want to know what kind of the game is this? I don't understand. For me, it's a game. You know, I want to be rude with you, but I hope you understand, the situation. And believe me, it's very hard for me because I got people living in the houses, and I haven't complained with those people. They told me they got kids, and also in my house, I got a family, and please do something.
Just so you understand, this gentleman has 3 homes. 2 of them have Harvey windows, and 1 of them has Sound Solutions. Harvey sent somebody to this gentleman's home. I was there when this workman showed up.
Yes.
The work order that he had made no mention of the smell. Every single double hung window, almost every single double hung window, the top and bottom sash has to be replaced due to heat damage. The guy that came out said he's never seen anything like it. Meaning that the heat that's building up between those storm windows and that inner window is so high that it's forcing out it's jacking up the sash.
That's right.
I mean, that's insane. And I said, well, you don't have anything here about the odor? No. They are dragging their feet. I mean, Sound Solutions, we know they're not in business, and you know.
This is Harvey?
Harvey, this is Harvey. And there's a lot of people with Harvey windows that are not getting any service. There is no protocol. There's no, if A happens, B happens, just like said, I was there each and every time she was inspected by by RSIP, and when Harvey was there. And Harvey changed her parent screen because they have double hungs, because she has sliders. They say there's no way possible the smell could be in her house, but RSIP has smelled it twice. This guy, he has somebody come out, he takes off from work, he inconveniences his tenant, and again, it's the 3rd time and nothing's happened. He's got nothing going on.
Karen, can that be looked into?
Yes, Chairman.
I mean, I gave you all of his reports.
I already gave you my address.
Jamie has everything. I mean, And, you know, I hear a story like this every single time, and it's just nuts. I mean, Harvey's in business. They need to be held to some kind of standard.